Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today I want to show you another way to load your bins. So currently you see me, I've blended food, I've just added it to the bin itself, but there's one way that is different than those, and that is a way that Mark has showed with his Vermibag bins. And this is actually wrapping up like little packets of food, like almost like a burrito of food for the worms, and have them slowly work into it. And it makes a huge layer of food, and it also gives it a way that's kind of separated from the worms at first. They have to work their way into it. It gets them, I think, kind of hungry for it. So we're going to try this out on one of my bins, and I want to show you how these are created, or at least how I'm making them. Everyone might probably make them a little different, but how I'm going to make these, and that way we can show you if this works or not. I think it's a great system. I've tried this actually in some of my urban worm bags, and it's worked really well for packaging the food up. And especially right now, with how much food I have in my house since my kids have been home for the past week with the coronavirus going around, we've been going through a lot of fruits and vegetables, and we have a little bit more than I'm used to going through, and I need a way to sort of harvest all this food and put it into my bins. So let me show you how I make these from my frozen fruits and vegetables that I have. Alright, so I've got my tub set up right here, and there's two things you really need to make these. You need food, which I have right here. So this is frozen food, but I can break it apart and throw it in there. And then you also need, this is a key part here, some newspaper. So the way this works, hold on here, I'm going to take off my gloves here to get this set up, and then we'll get going here. You take some newspaper, and you put it on your tray here, or wherever you're going to do your work. You're going to put it down, then you're going to grab some food. You're going to throw that in the middle of your tray. Alright, now this food happens to already be pretty much ground up because it's just these carrot scraps and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do now is wrap it up loosely. So this is really just kind of a loose wrapping. Fold it over, and then you can kind of press on it. This is what I like about this part. If you have something that's a little bit soft, you can kind of press it together, you know, break the skin of an apple, or, you know, for this stuff, kind of grind it up. Or bananas, if you're frozen, you can actually break them apart. So then I'm going to take one other piece and put it around the opposite direction. And this one is now ready to go. It's ready to go, and we can go over to the side now. So we're going to put that right there, just like that. And we're going to grab some more newspaper. I'm going to grab some more food. This happens to be artichoke. As you can tell, I've got quite a bit of this. So again, actually add a little bit more. Just like that. Fold it up. Now, if you're crunching it, be careful. You don't want to, there could be stuff that's, if it's frozen like this, could be hard and poke right through. Now, of course, there's still a little bit of air in there, which is perfect. So I'm wrapping a little bit there. Hold on a second. Now, there are some other takes on this. You could also add some grit to these as you're doing it. You could sprinkle in some eggshells. You could also put in some of your compost from a bin that's already working, kind of inoculate these to get them already set up and going, which isn't a bad idea. I just don't have that handy. So, all right, here we go. I'm going to add some more here. Maybe just add the rest of this just to get rid of it. So, then same thing, kind of squeeze it a little bit in here. Now, of course, you know, newspaper, the inks on these are non-toxic now. They don't include any heavy metals or anything like that. Alright, so I've got 3 of these here. I think that's good for this. So let me bring over the bin. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to put the bin here. We're going to add these to the bin that I have set up. Alright, so here's the bin. Now this is for those of you that haven't watched, I'll link it up above. This is actually the bin that I used for my experiment. I should say the material. The bin's different, but the material that I used for my experiment with the worms to see if they go through carrot scraps faster in my time-lapse video. I added some orange here, was starting a time-lapse, but I realized the worms were kind of escaping, so I kind of mixed it in, and then I'm doing this to give them something else to chew on. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to dig down a little bit. This is eggshell on top, by the way. That's all that's there. We're going to put these in just like this. So there's one. I'm just going to move this around it a little bit here. Just like that. Two. And then right here on this side, right here, I'm going to add the third one. Now you don't have to bury these down quite like I'm doing. I'm just doing that because, give it a little extra space on the surface here. But you do want to kind of add some stuff all around it, make sure that the worms can get everywhere. And then also, what I'd recommend doing probably is also adding a little bit of moisture to these. That way they start the process. You just get the water going here, and that way I can add some. I didn't realize I was out of water. I'm just going to take this and dump it in there. Alright, as I'm out of water, I'm just going to dump this in here over the top. Just a little bit. This already had some water in it. But if you're adding this to a fresh bin, make sure you add water and keep these things nice and moist. So that's how you create these and how you add them to a bin. Now, it's a little bit different than you would with a normal bin because you just let these sit. You don't keep adding food, you don't keep adding more materials to it, you don't keep adding more bedding. You just let them sit. The worms are going to work their way inside of these packages, and then they're going to eat them from the inside out typically. Now, one thing I will say about this is that this is actually a great way to feed bins. So I added 3 this time. You don't have to add 3. You can add 1, just like how you normally would dig up a section, you would add some food, and then you cover it back up. You could just add 1 of these instead. And it's a much cleaner way because it's all kind of self-contained in its own little package, and you can put it right where you want it, and it's easy to find later. You're going to be able to find the newspaper typically because that's usually one of the last things that they eat is this newspaper. So you're going to be able to find it, and that way you can move it to this corner over here and then a corner over here, and you can move around your bin really well actually with these. I'm actually quite impressed with how these work. If you need to, you can always add some crushed eggshell to them, too, to make sure that there's no acidity. So if you're adding pineapple or citrus or something like that. Or you can add in, as I said, some of the compost from your system, and that way it's already inoculated with the positive microbes it needs to really break down. So if you have any questions, as I said, it's Mark from Vermenting, or Eve Gardens, I think it is, that actually made a video on this, and he has a different system that's a bucket system that actually I've been meaning to try but haven't gotten around to yet. But these things work really well. I'm actually quite impressed with them. I've been doing them in my urban worm bags and I'm about to do them in my Vermibag. I'm going to have a video on that as well. And this is something that kind of also keeps bugs away too. Bugs can get to your bedding, but if you bury this inside this newspaper and they're going to work their way up from the bottom, the worms, fruit flies can't get in. Okay, they can't get through. They're not going to get through this newspaper. So what they're going to have to do is they have to go under the material, and they're not going to do that. So it actually prevents fruit flies, I've found as well, which is great in some systems, especially if you start getting overrun and you're worried about feeding your worms. You can throw in something like this, still feed your worms, and hopefully prevent fruit flies from coming back. So I hope you like this video. Please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, of course, ask, and I will try to get back to you. Thank you.